Hey there everyone, it's Joe from Ainslie's Gold Silver Standard Insights, brought to you by goldsilverstandard.com and ainslieBullion.com.au. Today's topic is silver demand and supply deficit set for biggest on record. Now that's posted on the Ainslie website. I'll put a link below for you to follow along. And of course we have Chris Tipper here to break down the morning's news. And joining Chris today is Alex Hutchinson from Siltech Precious Metals. So Chris and Alex, over to you.
Thanks, Joe. The Silver Institute put out their Interim Silver Market review last week, and it was a very interesting read for those buying or holding the precious metal. As explained in today's news piece, the demand and supply imbalances for silver are the biggest on record and could be laying the foundations for some significant price action, as many of the underlying factors causing the mismatch don't look like they're easing anytime soon. To dive into these dynamics and explain the nuances of what is going on, we're lucky to be joined by Alex once again, who is always so well positioned in the space to provide the most current and relevant practical insights. So welcome back, Alex.
Oh, thank you for having me again, Chris.
And I know your internet connection is a bit funny today because you've got a lot of wind down there. So hopefully we stick through, but we'll try our best.
100-kilometre winds in Sydney.
So yes, it's all happening. I know we have a lot of viewers on here who will find this latest report from the Silver Institute really relevant. So can you begin by maybe giving us a bit of an overview of what you took from that report, especially some of your thought? I know you've been looking at what the industrial demand means and what that's all about.
So, although we're in Australia, because Australia is a major silver producer and Siltech is the refinery, and then there's the Australian Minting Company, we actually get a lot of phone calls for silver products when the demand really picks up. So, occasionally we'll get calls from China, but over the last 4 to 6 months, we have been getting calls from Europe, India, and China, also the US. Mm-hmm. And the sizes are a lot higher than what we're normally asked for. So sort of up to 400-ton a year contracts they've been asking for uses such as solar panels or just raw inputs. So it appears there is a market shortfall because they don't come to Australia as a first choice when you're in China. So that's
and that would be primarily because of the distance, wouldn't it? Because I mean that's going to add a lot of cost if you're buying from Australia.
Well, actually, China's the biggest silver refiner. So right. there's so much coming out of there that it should fill the market. So these shortfalls just don't seem to be going away. We've got climate change, so solar panels are what the push for is at the moment. Mm-hmm. Then you've got the car industry with the Teslas and stuff needing more silver for their uses. So the demand is through the roof. And it was really interesting. I met with Nikos after Ainslie did the other week, and he was basically saying that what I'm taking at the moment, the premiums are much higher at the moment that are being needed to pay for silver. Mm-hmm. And what he's saying is Australia is just completely spoilt, and you do see it. So buying from a bullion dealer at the moment, you can buy a roux for around $6 an ounce premium. Whereas in the US, they're paying $12 per ounce for a coin and up to $39 an ounce for sort of eagles. So, wow. Yeah, so we're really spoiled in Australia that we've got a lot of silver, and it's not the world market. There's a lot more going on in the world market than what we're seeing here.
Yeah, those numbers there's big differences there. Wow. Might be a sign of what's going to happen to the Australian ones as they sort of blow out to match maybe. So what's going on in the vaults and with these silver drawdowns? Because obviously a lot of this is coming from the industrial side, as you've mentioned, but the other side of this is, what is being held in reserve? Can we sort of trust those numbers? What's going on there?
So in the COMEX vaults, we've now seen 5 straight months of drawdowns, specifically silver. Gold's actually been about 7 months. So since January 2021, so what's that, 23 months, yep. There's only been 3 months where it hasn't been drawn down. The registered hasn't been drawn down. Eligible and registered are a little bit different. I'm happy to go into it in a little bit.
Yep.
So there's also been a huge amount of eligible leaving. So how that leaves is eligible gets turned to registered, and then registered gets taken out. So that's been coming out as well. And so, but then when you consider eligible, you and I were talking about this before, you've got ETFs that are backed by silver. Now you've got physically backed ETFs like PSLV, and you've also got ETFs that are backed more by paper derivatives. And
so can you go into that? Because there's a lot of discussion that we see whenever you mention this to anyone and start talking about ETFs, this idea of physical versus paper, because I don't think people really understand that particularly well.
Well, just going back to what's going on in COMEX first, if you don't mind. So what is happening there is registered is being withdrawn, where it is eligible is coming down a little bit, not at the same rate.
Mm-hmm.
So registered in the last month is down 7.3%, 63% in the last year, and 75% in the last 3 years. And there's similar withdrawals out of Brinks vaults and Delaware, and also the LBMA. I know we've talked about that before.
Yes.
So registered silver, which is the physical COMEX silver, so physically in a vault, that has gone from 152 million ounces to 35 million ounces. That was in the recent October report. So you're now looking at 20 paper contracts for every ounce of registered silver. So talking about paper, that paper, there's 20 people claiming a contract against that 1 ounce of silver. But you do have the...
Seems absurd.
Well, hopefully Joe's got the graph up of registered versus eligible now.
Yep.
What you see is that registered is now, 90%, registered is about 10% of what is claimed to be in the vaults, whereas eligible is now up around sort of 90% plus. So, So now if you want me to talk about what's the difference between eligible and registered. So registered is fully available sitting in the COMEX warehouse for delivery. So to meet the COMEX requirement for registered, you need to have a warrant. Now, a warrant is like a receipt that you're given when you put something in a bank. So you've deposited $1,000 in cash, you get a receipt. So same thing with metals. So eligible is actually just a participant just needs to say, I've got it, it's sitting in my vault and my clearinghouse. So that's now part of what can be delivered. And then what you also need to consider about the ETFs is that some of that eligible stuff is actually owned by other people. So it may be rented back. So it's not all kosher that it may all be there. It might, but it's opaque at best.
It really does blow my mind the more I learn about this, because I think as a regular consumer who might be buying an ETF or just buying silver on their app, on their phone or whatever, they would have no idea about this, would they?
No. And, we were talking as well about paper silver or paper gold, which is actually just a derivative or a security. And that has counterparty risk. And
yes,
I mean, you'd know this more than me at the moment because I don't follow the crypto market quite like you do. But FTX had that same counterparty risk. And, look what's happened there recently. So, yeah.
Well, and that's what concerns me, the more I understand this, because in the FTX scenario, you had effectively a rumor that then obviously had legs to it. Like there was obviously things actually going on, but that rumor was enough to spook the market and people started withdrawing. And that level of withdrawals then created a cascading sort of domino effect where all of a sudden people needed to call in their loans. Everything just collapsed in upon itself as that rumor grew. And then that made it worse because the more you saw, for example, if they started pausing withdrawals, well, then all of a sudden that encourages more people to want to get their money out or start asking questions. So it very quickly spiraled out of control and just, as I said, collapsed on itself. So is that the potential here as well? That's what I'm seeing, because I'm going, well, if you're talking about numbers like 20 to 1 claims on on some physical. And I know this is a discussion that exists in the silver market, has existed in the silver market for a long time, but on the back of something like FTX, where you see how quickly that can all blow up, the same thing could surely happen here, because if people start demanding that physical out of that system, surely we end up with pauses and, sorry, we can't do that anymore. And then that exaggerates the problem and it feeds on itself.
Look, any market with a counterparty risk, you've got to really be sure of the counterparty risk. And that is FTX, and that is COMEX and LBMA and all of them. Like, you know, you don't want it to be opaque. You want to be able to see it. So, you know, I know that Ainslie fully backs itself. I know its suppliers fully back itself. And you need to remember the phrase, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. So you need to make sure, just like the PSLV ETF, it's there. So you just got to really check who you're buying things from.
That's really valuable advice. And it aligns with what we've been saying in the last few Insights videos. It's moments like these, and people go, well, the crypto market doesn't impact me, but it's a good example of what could be coming in any market where there's that opacity that you're talking about. So, you know, if in crypto, it's you don't hold the keys, you know, not your keys, not your crypto. In bullion, if you don't hold it or you don't know with certainty where it's been held, then it may not be there. So it's really valuable advice. I think that everyone needs to take a step back, look at what's going on and go, okay, just for my own sanity check, for my own safety check, am I confident with the things that I'm buying?
And look at what I was talking about. You know, we get phone calls, you know, can I get a contract? It's very easy, just like what happened in FTX, just to go, oh, does it really matter if we just move something aside there? It's okay. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, sure.
And then, you know, someone gets caught with their pants down.
So, and that comes to that argument of trust, doesn't it? You need to be dealing with people who have been through these cycles, and you can be confident that they consistently deliver because it's there. That, you know, they're not playing any tricky games. A lot there. So as always, really useful and valuable to have you on board. So thanks, Alex, for that. Really appreciate that today. And I think there'll be a lot of people out there who have a lot of comments on this that they want to make as well.
Good. Well, thank you again for having me.
All right. We'll see you again next week.
Okay, great.
Thanks so much for being on the show once again, Alex and Chris. I'll see you on the next one. And of course, to the audience, I want you to head over to the Discord channel. That's discord.gg/gold. The perfect way to continue the conversation. Alex and Chris will be there for the next 1 or 2 hours after the upload of this video. So head over there, ask your questions, get a response, and tell us your feedback. We really want to hear from you. I always want you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Ainslie Bullion for the wide range of informational videos that we post 5 days a week, including specials and much, much more. And while you're on the internet, head over to goldsilverstandard.com because that's bringing gold and silver into the digital world. As we say here at the end, balance your wealth in an unbalanced world. Take care, and we'll see you next time.